Okay, so in this video, to go back again, what we'd done is we'd created so we could select the stalls and then it would say the different stalls information. So we actually added it to RAM and then we created an array to add it to your list box, and we just literally got information from the array as you selected on it. Now we didn't deal with the picture because now this is a slightly more advanced GUI element, and the first thing to understand in the pictures, I created a folder inside my GUI class, and inside my package I created a folder called stalls and animals, and inside the stalls I've got a file for my greenhouse, slaughterhouse and test tube here. Now you'll notice that these names are the exact same names as my actual entry. Sorry, I should have left this open. So my actual stall names, I've named the files the exact same as that. The only difference is it's got a .jpg file at the end. So you also need, and I suggest when you create the pictures in there, you make them so that they're the same size. You'll notice that my pictures aren't the same size. This one, for example, has got a resolution of, actually let me just show the properties here. If you view the actual details pane on the side, you'll see this one's 500 by 500, this one's 194 by 259, and this one is smaller. So it's going to look odd because every single time I click on the other one, I haven't dealt with a complex GUI component to resize the images to fit that. So what I'd suggest you do, an easier way, is just to size your images to be the correct size. If you do want to find out how to work with some more complex image frames which will resize it to that, Google it. I'm not going to be teaching you that. Now, the next, so what we're going to do is, how are we going to get it so that when we click on a stall, it will display that stall in here. So I actually added an image already in here so that we could actually find out. So I'm going to call this LBL stall image, and I want to find out how the computer adds it into here, under the generated code, how it manages to do that. So if I take a look at the generated code here, and I go down and I find LBL stall image. Damn it, this thing's in the wrong spot. I want the heart. Move away. Go away. Thank you. And I actually want to find the next occurrence of this. So you see here it actually sets the icon. So let me move me. It says set icon is equal to new java.swingImage blah 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 blah. You guys can Google the exact meanings of that. I know a bit about it, but I'm not going to spend time on going through that. And you'll see this allows us to actually change the image that's in there. Is this line of code here. So what I can do is, where I'm busy changing my, what did you guys forget to remind me to do? Oh wait, it is already zoomed in. Never mind. Ignore me.
What did you forget to do by yourself?
Zoom in. Now, so when we actually select a stall, we don't just want to update this, we also want to update the actual picture. Now in this case, Pac-Man stalls, what's the only difference here? Instead of greenhouse, we want, what do we want here? Or we want whichever one is given from the name. So s.getName will give me the name of what the file is. So if I now change that to the file, so now whichever image or whichever stall the user clicks on, that the different name will be there, .jpg. But I must make sure all of my extensions are all small case, they all have the same extensions, but the names, when I named the images, I named them like that. And then now when we run the program, let me just close this one here. When I actually click on test tube 3, a picture of the test tube comes up. If I click on greenhouse, the greenhouse, slaughterhouse, slaughterhouse. And you'll notice that, as I said, the images all look a bit odd, but it's because I didn't size my images to be the same. So I suggest you just size them to the way you want it to look. It makes life easier.
So I'm going to have to definitely do this on my project.
But now you check that it's quite easy now to get GUI to change images that are working around, and you can work with images there. Now, our add button, we would want to open up a new frame where we can add a new stall, and we now want to physically add that. So I'm going to go through the add, potentially a little bit on the edit, the delete as well. And remember, when you delete, you also have to delete from your storage. Not just from the actual RAM, you have to delete from the storage as well. And when you're dealing with databases, that's much easier because you just go delete from. Now, what am I doing?
That's such a cool picture.
Now, the next thing that we're going to be doing is we want to now work with the ad. So the first thing we do with our ad, we want to work, okay, with the stall, what information do we need for a stall? No, man. We need the stall name, right? So what I'd suggest you guys do, if I can find a pencil that actually works, or a pen. Does anyone have a pen or a pencil I can borrow? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to draw and create an ad frame that will look something like this. Obviously just a bit more, there we go. Now, and at the top we'd maybe want to show the message just saying add frame. So now we're gonna work with this.
No, you can't just have height and you have to have width as well. Because it's 3 dimensions.
What we've got here is we now want to create a new frame. Now, you could go and create a new class and create a new frame there, but the problem then is after you add that stall, you now want to update the stall information. So it makes life difficult if I create in a separate class, because then I've got to try to communicate back with you, and that's going to be very difficult. So then potentially I'd make everything static, which would then allow you to communicate back, but then it creates a whole different headaches. So what I suggest you do, the easiest way to do it, is you create all your frames inside the same class. So what we do here is we'll go to our swing windows, and we go frame, and you just drag and drop it into here. And you'll see now on your right-hand side, where your left-hand side, where your navigator is, that's where it will allow you to work with your different frames. And this frame is specifically about FRM, add stall. So this is a frame to add stall. Now, on your adding stall frame, I'm now going to plan the way I want it to, and bear with me here. I'm a big fan of your border layout because I think it does allow for sizing and grouping much better than a lot of other layouts. So I'm going to make it border layout. I'm going to put a panel on the north, a panel on the east, a panel on the west, and I want to put a panel in the center. And I'll explain to you my reasons now. But before I do that, when the user clicks close, what I suggest we do is we just hide. When the user clicks close, I suggest you use hide. And this is the add stall, so we give it a title, add stall, so the frame will have those properties. Now, on this left panel is where I want to say stall name, size, and fence height. So I actually want this to be a grid layout. And this grid layout I'm going to be set to be 3 rows and 1 column. And then on this right hand side it's also going to be set to grid layout. So all 3 of these pretty much are going to be set to be grid layout. Oh, I just created a grid bag layout. Fail on my part. Okay, make this panel set layout, grid layout, this panel set layout to be grid layout. Now once I've made it a grid layout, I'm going to make all of them 1 column by 3 rows, and I'm going to add the items I want in there. Now the first column I want the titles. Is that the first column?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's this. Okay, it's difficult to see where this panel looks like it's the right one here. Okay, so panel 11 here. Yeah, interesting. Okay, guys, sometimes it can be fidgety. When it's fidgety like this, this is the bottom layout. This I'm going to make a flow layout, so I'll explain why now. Actually, let me also just make this a grid layout. Okay, so we've got all of our items here. They are all quite tiny at the moment, so we need to resize it. Let's just go here and make this one bigger. This is my central panel by the looks of it. Well, okay, you guys can learn from my mistake here. My mistake is when I added the different panels to the frame, I made it so that now you check it's absolutely tiny, and now I don't know which of these panels is in the center, which of these panels on the outside, where each of these panels are. So one thing that I would suggest you can do, and I'm going to delete this and start again because it's more easier that way. Come on, hey, delete everything. Minimize, 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 minimize. Delete. Okay, so I've deleted all of them. One thing that I do to make my life easier is when I add panels. So I want a panel here, I want a panel in the north, I want a panel in the... I actually name them. So I can go change variables it automatically because I set the layout to be border, so it automatically puts it in the correct segments when I move the mouse over to that part. So now if I go pan, I'm going to call this pan, this is west, pan west. This one, pan center. This one, I spelled it American, I know, bad me. Pan east and pan north. Yeah, pan south. Okay, now that we've done this, now when I set the layouts to be grid layouts, I want these three here. I want pan west, pan east, and pan center. I want all of those to be layout grid layouts, and I want all of those to be 1 column by 3 rows. Same thing with pans, 1 column by 3 rows, and 1 column by 3 rows. And trust me, planning your GUI out a little bit prior and thinking about it logically and layouts will save you a lot of time. If you just start dragging and dropping things, it's all going to go pear-shaped, which is not cool. And I'm going to set the layout as well. But actually, all of them are going to be grid layouts, so I don't know why I bothered. But now at least we've got the names, so we know which ones we're working with. So let's start with pan west. So I double click on pan west, and there's pan west here. And I'm wanting this to have the labels because it's got the titles of the things. So I want it to read store name full colon. I can change the sizes of it if I want. I'm going to make it a bit bigger because I do find this a bit small. I'll do that just now. I want the label for size of, and I want the label for fence height. I would have if I could spell. Okay, so fence height. Now I want to apply the properties to all 3 of them so that they are size. I hold in control when I select them. I want to make it size 18. Okay, and this poor size doesn't get a full colon after it. Okay, now it's got a full colon now. Now we've got that there. We now want to work with pan central. So let's work with pan center. Pan center, I want. Whoa, hello, that's tiny. Pan central, I want to have the text boxes. So it's going to be 3. Now, guys, this is vital for your. I'm losing my train of thought. For your project, your PAT, there is big marks for error handling. Now, one of the ways you can error handle is by a GUI. Now, obviously, name has to be in a text area because text field because the names could be anything. But now, for our size of our yard or the actual space that it is in meters squared, does it have to be a text box? No, it's a numerical value one, so we can put in what's called a spinner. And a spinner, you'll see there under spinner model, we can choose what type of data we're allowed in. And we want a number type. And an integer, we want a minimum value of 0, and then we can even set a maximum value. So we can actually limit the size in which things, in which the user can enter stuff. Does this make sense? So now we've automatically error handled, haven't we? Because now the user can't enter anything other than an integer because we've limited it via the GUI components. So yes, you can error handle via checking the data in code, but you can also, what's so funny, Carl? We limited it using a spinner component so that they couldn't actually do that. Now, for our other one, this one's slightly more tricky because now the fence height is a float because, guys, hey, shut up. The fence height is a float, and the reason why it's a float is because it can be 1.7 meters or something like that. So on my spinner, you'll see that there's a lovely, so now we're learning another GUI component here. We're learning the spinner, and we'll learn how to read the information from it just now. But you'll notice in the spinner model is the item you want to manipulate, and you want to change what kind of data is going to be in there. In this case, it's a number, but now we don't want it as an integer. We want it as a what? A float. Now, the initial value is going to be 0, but now instead of making step size 1, you can make step size 0.5, for example. So now when the user clicks on the up button, so now if we preview it, when the user clicks on the up button, you'll see it'll go up in 0.5. Do you guys see that? Okay, now on the next last part, sorry, we went on the panel east, this isn't the last part, we want to add the actual, damn it, there we go. Yeah, we want to add only for our size and our fence height, we want to add meters squared and meters. But now this is a 3-rowed item, isn't it? Now with it being a 3-rowed item, I need to put a blank value in the top. So how do I do that? I can either put a panel or you can put a label, for example, and just make the label blank, either or, tomato, tomato. I'm then wanting a label which would then say meters squared. Yeah, excuse that. And we've got the next one, which is fence height, which is in meters. Guys, just for interest's sake, how I would solve this, because obviously this doesn't look like meters squared, right? It doesn't. So what I would do to solve this, I'm going to solve it quickly, and you guys actually search for an image that would say meters squared, and then I would literally save that image inside my folder, which I'm going to pause the video for this because it's quite far away. Okay, so if I save it into my package location, I'm not going to call this download, I'm going to call this meter squared. I can then literally, it's a PNG type, I'm actually hoping that the label will be able to handle the PNG, but I'm assuming it will. And then what I could do is make the text blank in this field, and instead then just give it an icon. So you click on the 3 dots on the icon, like we've done previously, meter squared, done. Okay, now it's obviously got a white background, I don't like that. I would edit the background to be clear actually before adding it to you. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Why? It's such a waste of time. Do you guys know how to make a background see-through? Okay, that's not a waste of time. This is a side note to make something see-through. Edit with GIMP. GIMP is an open source. It stands for graphics. No, GUI, the GUI license, the free license image manipulation program. But it stands for the. What is it? GNU? Does anyone know the free license name? 30 centimeters, Callum. No. Guys, there's an open source license. The GNU license is the license that is what that stands for. So GNU license, which is your open source license, image manipulation program. Guys, now basically what's happening here is I've opened the image up in here. All I would do is I would select using this selector, which selects by a color. So I've selected all the white background here. Now, a big thing in here is you should be viewing your layers. Now, unfortunately, the layers aren't shown at the moment. So I actually want to show the layers, and you'll see the layers are actually here on the right hand side. I prefer having them docked personally, but I can't remember how to do that, so lock tab to dock. It didn't work. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, the point is that after I've done it, I will right click selection and I'll invert my selection, which means instead of me selecting the white background, I'm now selecting the new items on the top there, and I'm then going to go right click selection float. And what this does is I've now lost my layers thing, but you'll see in my layers box there's now a floating layer, so there's a secondary layer to my my image. So if I make this go to new layer, I can then delete this layer, and then now the background is see-through, so it's only the M squared that is there. Now I just go file, export as, and I export it as a PNG. I can overwrite this one because I don't want the old one, and I'm going to replace it, export. And now if I add it to my program, which I'm hoping, I need to delete and add it again, my bad, because it's now referring to the old one. I'm hoping if I re-add it, it will pick it up as being, and I click OK. Oh no, the problem is I added it before. Okay, delete, goodbye, delete, goodbye. Let me start from the beginning and see if that helps. Okay, right click, edit text to blank, set the icon to the image, meter squared. Okay, there we go. So now it's got no background in it, so now it looks much prettier. Although it's massive, but yeah, whatever. Label in this next one is meters only, so yeah, it seems very inferior. Alright, so now that we've got that, our next component that we need is we've got our last part of our design frame to work with, and that's the bottom one, which is the south. And pan south, we want to have the buttons in. Now, I set this layout to be grid layout, but I hadn't set the amount of quantities it is. Veronica, please. Actually, that is you as well. There's two different. There's a pink and an orange Veronica. So
I'm the orange Veronica.
numbers can be swear words too. If they're it's implied. Okay. Okay, guys. Now, the next thing that we've got that we're going to be doing there is here we want the buttons to be here, and obviously actually the main button we want is we want the add button. So I'm going to make I'm just because I can. I'm making this pretty disgusting. Okay, Now, when we look at we can preview our design, and when we, whoa. Now, what I suggest you do is you find like a size that works for the frame. This is a very ugly frame, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
But the meter squared looks cool.
So cool.
This will allow for people to, and you'll notice here, for example, I won't be allowed to input text now. It'll just revert it to a number, so it saves you from having any issues there. Okay, so and now we want to code the add button so it works. I know this isn't the prettiest, but you guys can mess around with that. How to get this frame to work now is the next question. Now to get this frame to work, if I go back to my main frame, when I click on this add button, this is where I'd want to go there. So I'd go events, action, action, perform. So when the user clicks on that, I would want to go view or display. I'm just, okay, view is fine. View, add, stall. Now you can just double click it, but guys, I want you to be aware, okay, I haven't coded view, add, stall yet. The reason why I didn't just double click it, because you need to be aware of all the different action listeners are. It will listen out for events that the user does. Now, in the case of the list, I wanted it when the user selected an item, so the event that I was listening for was a list selection. You might want it to listen specifically when the user right-clicks, for example, in which case you would want mouse clicked. And with that mouse clicked, you could actually listen to that event and determine whether it was a left click or a right click. So for those of you who do want it to do different actions depending on how the user clicks, it's important that you're aware that there are different types of events other than just action performed. Which is your very generic one, which will be any kind of action that occurs on it that's major. Now, the next, so when we go back there, we're going to now code the view add stall. So let's minimize these other ones. I think there's an option of collapsing all, but I don't remember where that is. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to say public. Oh, am I inside the class? Not even inside the class. That's not cool. So public void view add stall, and all we're going to do to actually view it is we go this dot set visible. Now here's something as a system analyst you're going to have to decide: do I want to hide my frame or do I want to show my frame? Now during your design document, you're expected to design the GUI so the GUI works. When you click on something, it'll minimize it and open the other one, but we don't expect it actually to populate stuff from the code, but we do expect the navigation to work. Do you guys get that? Well, that's what I expect anyway. The mark sheet doesn't expect that, but I expect that because it saves you trouble later. Now, the next thing we got there for view add stall, we're going to go FRM. I'm not going to hide my main frame. I'm just going to go set visible to be true. And what this will do then is when you click it, it will set it to be visible and we'll see it. But now the problem is, so add it will now display it to be visible. Again, I haven't set the minimum size or anything like that. And do you notice that my whole transparent thing is now gone disappearing? It's no longer transparent. Fun. It's probably because I haven't saved it properly or rendered it properly, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you'll just need to go run. You'll need to build the project, clean and build the project to get things like that to be fixed. For now, goodbye.